What's going on, everyone? Alex here with AGV Auto, and today I'm going to be doing a highly requested video by you guys, a review on the TSP Stage 2 tune. Stage 2 tune. Stage 2 tune. Wow, that's hard to say. Anyway, I love doing these kinds of videos because I know that it helps a lot of you out, and you guys also get a feel for what the product is actually like in everyday use. One thing I did find interesting is that before I posted this video, if I searched up a review on the TSP Stage 2 tune, there wasn't a single one, which is kind of weird to me considering that there are a lot of people that are out there running this tune. But anyway, I'm going to be covering as much as I can, just as I did on my review on the TSP Stage 1 tune. And if you haven't already watched that video, go ahead and click on the top right. Now today is going to be a little bit of a longer video, but it's super informative, so make sure you stick around because it's well worth it. Last thing I want to say is that I finally received my ASR badges in the mail last week, so I'll be doing a review and install video on them, so subscribe if you haven't done so already. And now let's dive into the review. Let's get the basics out of the way first. The tune was made by a well-known reliable tuner in the 10th gen community named Derek Robinson, and if you haven't heard of him, you're probably living under a rock. So Derek created this tune when he was over at Two Step Performance, and for those of you guys that don't know, he's no longer there and he's at his own shop, which is called Innovative Motorworks. Now I want to give him a shout out because as I was doing my research to make the jump from Stage 1 to Stage 2, he was very patient with me and emailing me back and forth and answering my questions very thoroughly. I wanted to make sure that my concerns were addressed in regard to my environment, maintenance, and a couple other things that I mentioned later on in this video. So you can buy the Stage 2 from TSP's website, and it's extremely important that I mention this is for KTuner only. Unlike their Stage 1 that's compatible with both KTuner and Hondata. So if you have Hondata, sorry, but this is for KTuner only this time around. And this tune is only for stock turbos, not anything upgraded and aftermarket. As far as pricing is concerned, it's normally around 150 bucks, but they typically have it on sale for about 120. And their delivery time is usually within the same day if you place your order during business hours, at least in my experience anyway. Now let's get into what a lot of you guys want to know. So this Stage 2 tune offers you an additional 88 wheel horsepower and an additional 121 foot-pounds of torque over the factory calibration. The final numbers on the dyno were 270 wheel horsepower and 327 foot-pounds of torque. Now, keep in mind that there are a lot of factors that go into making these numbers, including the environment. The tuning was performed on a 2017 SI with literally just a flex fuel kit and an aftermarket clutch. In this case, a Clutchmasters FX400, but everything else was bone stock, including the intake, front pipe and downpipe, and exhaust. And as a disclaimer, you cannot just buy this tune, flash your car, and go ahead and start pumping ethanol. It doesn't work that way, and I want to make that clear. You need a flex fuel kit, either the one that TSP or PRL manufactures, because the tune requires a converter, which these kits have. And this is to detect the amount of ethanol that's running through the fuel system to adjust the tune accordingly. As a side note, you are still able to add bolt-ons just like the Stage 1, such as front pipe and downpipe, an intake, and an exhaust. Obviously, with better flowing aftermarket parts, you are going to be able to get some more power out of your car. But for the absolute best results, I would recommend getting a custom tune. In my car, I personally run the Stage 2 paired with a PRL Colder Intake Street and the HKS High Power exhaust. And to help out with the cooling, I did just recently get installed the PTP inlet blanket, which you can also find from TSP. Now let's talk about the most important thing about this tune, which is required fuel. So this tune does require 91 or 93 at the bare minimum. Do not use anything else, and I repeat, do not use anything else because you will run into some issues. When you are mixing premium with ethanol, you should be targeting an E30 through 35 blend, as you can see per Derek's recommendation. I cannot stress this enough, guys. Do not try and pump more ethanol to get a higher blend because it won't do anything for you power-wise or torque-wise. If anything, it can do more harm than good because the tune is set up in a way to provide you with the most reliable power and torque at the targeted blend range of E30 through 35. So by pumping more ethanol, don't think you're going to get more out of the car just because you decided to put more ethanol. Unfortunately, it doesn't work that way. So now let's get into fueling ratios. Here in South Florida, we do have 93 octane, so it's going to require less gallons of ethanol to get to that healthy range of E30 through 35. Typically, 93 octane contains 10% ethanol already. If you live in a state that only has 91, you will have to pump a little bit more ethanol just because it has less octane. This also varies station to station because some of them don't have as pure of ethanol as others. So you are gonna have to test it out the first couple of times to find the right ratio, just as I did when I was first starting out. At my nearest station, if I'm almost empty, a ratio of 6 gallons of 93 and 4 gallons of ethanol will get me to that targeted range of E30 through 35 and almost a full tank. So just be mindful that it will take a couple times before you actually start getting it right. Moving on to other features the Stage 2 has to offer. It also has fuel, ignition, turbo, and throttle response changes, along with wide open throttle shifting, adjustable launch control, and the ability to disable rev hang, boost by gear that can be adjusted if you'd like, and on-the-fly map switching. Now, I'm not going to show you the adjustable launch control or how to do the on-the-fly map switching because it's just the same as a TSP Stage 1 tune, so I don't want it to be repetitive. And just like the Stage 1 tune, you have 3 map settings. Map 1 setting is all factory settings as if you're not even tuned. Map 2 is 19 PSI in normal and 21 PSI in sport mode. Now on map 3, which is the big boy map, you do get 19 PSI in normal and a custom boost level in sport. I personally see about 24 to 25 pounds at peak, but I also know a lot of people in other states that have seen 26 and even 27 pounds, which is pretty crazy. So now that you guys are well informed, let's see some pulls. Now, it comes down to the big question, would I recommend upgrading to the TSP Stage 2 tune? And my answer to that is yes and no. Yes, I recommend it because it's such a huge difference from TSP Stage 1 and it feels like a completely different car. But you have to have an aftermarket clutch because the stock clutch won't last long on these torque levels. I wouldn't really recommend it if you're on the stock clutch. Even though I'm on the stock clutch, I decided to take the gamble because I baby my car almost all the time. But I do a pull here and there and never really race unless it's for a video, which is not really often. And that's what it really comes down to at the end of the day, is how hard do you really push your car. Also, keep in mind that the more aftermarket parts that you add, the greater the chance is going to be of you slipping. In the short amount of time that I've had this tune, which is about a little over a month now, I haven't had any slipping, knock on wood. And I know a lot of people running the similar setup and even full bolt-ons that I've never had a single slipping issue. It really is a hit or miss with these stock clutches. Usually the slipping occurs when you wide open throttle shift in higher gears below 3,500 RPMs. But if you're like me, feel free to pull the trigger, but be aware of the gamble that you're taking. Or at least have a backup plan in the future to support this mod, just in case your clutch does start slipping. Now, I've had a lot of you guys already DM me questions on Instagram, but one of the main questions was, is this tune reliable? And my answer is yes. Derek wouldn't make a tune that isn't reliable. And the reason I say that is because this is what's considered an off-the-shelf tune, meaning that a lot of people are going to use it, so the margin for error is very, very small. Now, I had also mentioned in the beginning of the video that I did ask D-Rob some questions. I had asked about what type of oil I should change to. The reason why is because here in South Florida, it is super hot, and that thin oil of OW20 along with the ethanol blend is not a great combination. So that's why I had asked him what type of oil I should change to, and he recommended that I run 5W30, which is a little bit of a thicker oil, so that way I don't run down to any oil dilution issues. I had also asked him about how often I should change my spark plugs, and he recommended that I change mine at every 25,000 miles. Now, those are his recommendations to me, but it varies person by person. But that's it, guys. I hope you found it helpful. But if I missed anything or you still have any questions, feel free to shoot me that DM. That's it for this video, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.